All right, Nick Houston here for Gotham Sound and Communications with Karl Winkler from Lectrosonics. First and foremost, great to see you at NAB again.
Great to see you too, and great to be here at a live show. It's very
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah, it's the
Absolutely.
first time in a minute. So, Karl, you have some exciting new stuff that was just announced.
Yes,
Why don't you tell us what you've got?
sure. Well, the SR series dual channel receivers have been a long part of our line since 2007, and the SRC being the most recent. So we added the DSR,
Mhm.
changed from instead of SRD, we went to DSR because it's part of the digital receiver line. So this is the DSR, two channel digital receiver with backwards compatibility with all hybrid modes. And it has AES and analog outputs natively, so it doesn't require any special adapters to get AES out, for instance, into an SL2 or something like that. And we thought, why stop there? We also came out with a 4-channel digital receiver, the DSR4. And this one, as you can see, has got a color display, 4 independent channels. They can be tuned anywhere within the bandwidth independently. And like the DSR, it's got native analog or digital outputs and backwards compatibility with all the hybrid modes. So, this is something that shouldn't surprise too many people.
Uh-huh.
We had a lot of requests for it, a digital 4-channel slot receiver. And we also put the 5-pin output right on the top, just in case someone needs it to go into a Sony camera or have external outputs
Mhm.
for any reason, either analog or digital.
Got it.
So amazing response to this. We just announced it Wednesday, and it's blowing up on social media, and we're hearing about lots of pre-orders and everything. So it seems like we got the feature set right, and it's a very exciting product, which is
Awesome.
always fun. Yeah.
So one thing I forgot to mention that I'm supposed to mention at the beginning is that we're live from the NAB floor. So if anybody watching at home has any questions or comments for Karl, please put them in the chat, and then we will forward them on to Karl. So tell me a little bit about these are working.
These are working units. You're actually seeing, you tuned in to a local transmitter here. It's your camera hop
Uh huh.
system. And we're seeing 4 channels operating there, battery levels, audio modulation, and so on. And the same on this one. There we're seeing 2 channels of audio modulation, and they're running live. Yeah, these are working units.
Okay. And tell me about the screens, right? So one of them
Sure.
full color.
Yeah, the DSR4, that's a unique screen in our product line. It's full color, RGB, so we can have things like green and red battery levels, green and red RF, yellow, kind of like the DSQD. It's
Yeah.
sort of like a miniature DSQD screen.
Hmm.
A lot of details. When you go into the menus, you can see things grouped with icons and colors, just like you would see in a DSQD,
Hmm.
which is handy and quick for programming the unit. We've also got different home screens, kind of like in the 822,
Uh
as
huh.
an example. Back out a couple times, and you can see a couple different versions. And this on the DSR, that's the same screen as in the DCR 822.
Hmm.
So it's not color, but it's high resolution black and white and very clean and crisp.
Uh huh.
So same thing here. If you hit back, you can see different versions of the home screen with different shortcuts essentially.
Okay.
So a lot in there. And the menu structure of the DSR is very similar to an 822,
Hmm.
minus the recording function, of course. There's nowhere to put a card
I
slot
see.
in these units. Yeah.
And so, I mean, the other thing to note is, I mean, this looks very much like NSR, but this has some new buttons and a different bezel and all that.
Absolutely. To be able to fit the connector here and tactile buttons, we moved the display off center,
Uh huh.
which we'd never done before. And
Hmm.
we realized, hey, that's one way to make it all fit. It is a little bit taller. You can see it's a little longer here, so to be able to fit the circuit boards. And so therefore, there's going to be some new accessories for mounting and powering it. So
Hmm.
like a SR bat sled, it
Yeah.
will work on the
Yeah.
DSR, but it will not work on the
Hmm.
DSR4 because of the extra length. And also because it's got 4 channels of output, the old bottom plates won't cover the 4 channels.
Uh
So
huh.
there's going to be new bottom plates as well. You can actually fit the old ones on there, but you're only going to get power in and 2 channels of audio out,
I see.
right?
But you could still get them out of the top.
You can get them out of the top. That's right.
Interesting. Okay.
So there's a lot of flexibility here. It's definitely a descendant of the SR line,
Hmm.
plus a couple little twists
Yeah.
requiring some new accessories, but not all. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And so this is slot form factor.
Yes.
So fully compatible with anything super slot or anything with a DB25.
Exactly right. This is super slot compatible. So for instance, in an SL2,
Hmm.
Coming out of this with the new bottom plate, you would get 2 pairs of AES channels
Mm-hmm.
into the slot. So imagine SL2 with 2 of these, and you got 8 channels of digital receivers.
Yeah.
So that's a first.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And how does the tracking front end, or how does the front end compare to the 822? Because the 822
Yeah.
we've talked about is one of the better receivers that have been made in recent history. But tell us how these compare.
Yeah, these are very similar. The same designer did the 822 and did the DSR4.
Mm-hmm.
So the front end is similar, other than you've got 4 channels here,
Uh-huh.
where here it's only 2.
I see.
But the diversity is, as you can imagine, we had requests, and we sort of took that to heart. People said, well, you got 4 front ends. Why don't you have 4 channels of output?
Mm.
It's like, well, now we can, and it's in this one. So that's, these are very similar. This was done by a different engineer, but using a lot of the same circuits.
Right.
So every engineer is going to have their own little style, and this one's slightly different, but based on the same idea. So these should all perform very similarly to the
Got it.
822.
Okay. And you mentioned already this does the new the D2 transmission.
That's right.
Say DCX as well.
Yeah, these are doing all the same modes as the 822.
Mhm.
So you've got D2, that's the native digital mode. You've got HDM, that's the high density,
Mhm.
zero intermods mode. You've got the DCHX, so that's the stereo encrypted mode. You've got duet mode, which is stereo unencrypted.
Yeah.
And then all the hybrids. So N A hybrid, NU hybrid, EU hybrid, and JA hybrid. So it's got all those modes in there.
Got it. Okay. So I'm going to open it up to questions now. Joey, anything in the chat so far?
Yes, we do have a few questions.
Let's see.
Mark asks, will the 4-channel do 4 channels AES out the top TA5?
Right, so the question is, will the TA5 on the front panel do 4 channels of AES out? And the answer is yes.
Got it. 4 channels AES out on the top panel. Joey, anything else? And thank you, Mark.
Yes, we do. Kyle asks, are you able to change the display to focus on a single or 2 channels? This is for the 4-channel receiver, if you're not using all 4 channels.
It's a good question. I think we haven't gotten that far with it yet, but it's likely that we will have something like that. And you can power down the channels individually to save on energy consumption. It's actually very efficient. It's 3.2 watts for 4 channels, which is fantastic. But you have the option of turning off individual channels. So I would imagine that we'll have a display that would then only show, let's say, 2 channels.
Right. Got it. Okay. Joey, what else you got?
So Mr. Tomas says, is it going to be compatible with the Sound Devices SL2?
A question about compatibility with SL2, and the answer is yes. The SL2 accepts either analog inputs, 2 channels per slot, or digital AES, 4 channels per slot. And this can put, with the new bottom plate, 2 AES pairs for 4 channels into the slot. Keep in mind, though, that the SL2 is global, either all analog or all digital into the slots. So you can certainly use this with 4 channels of digital out the bottom plate into the SL2 per slot.
Got it. Okay. Joey, what else you got? This is fun. I'm enjoying
Jim
this
asks,
back and
do
forth.
they
It's
have
very strange.
adjustable front-end filters, or are they always open to 470 to 608?
Yes, these have bank switch filters just like the 822. So it's going to definitely adjust the filters as you're tuning across the band. And the performance of the 822 shows that it's quite effective. One other thing I didn't mention was that all of these, like the 822, have a very high IP3. That's the third order intercept. And that's a function of how much energy the front end of a receiver can take before it begins to compress and get desensitized. These all have plus 15 dBm, which is quite high. The old famous 411A had plus 8, to give you some idea. So these are quite a bit higher than that.
Got it. Okay. Got a lot of questions about the DSR4. What else you got, Joe?
That is all we have for now.
Okay, great. So I just want to highlight one thing because you've got all these wonderful pictures. And Joe, if there are any other questions, just hop in and let me know. But I really like this one. So just tell me where this is and what's going on with that guy that seems vaguely familiar.
Right. So this is a scene from one of the Mission Impossible movies, filmed in an alley in Paris. And we did a story about this production of this movie a few years back, and we asked for permission to use a picture from production, and they sent us a folder with all these pictures in it, and this was among them. We love it because it tells the whole story of filmmaking in one shot. You've got your camera here and all the equipment there. You've got some lighting stuff, and you've got the boom pole with an SMV transmitter on it right above the star of the film. So
Very
just,
cool.
as you see it, you see all of filmmaking in a single shot.
Okay, great. And we have a couple more questions. Joe, why don't you go ahead?
One question is, when will the DSR4 be released in the UK?
In the UK, at the same time, we have this slated for release in the third quarter, and there's 4 different frequency bands that are going to be available. We're not sure we'll have all 4 at the same time, but we believe we'll have the A1B1, which is going to be stateside centric, B1C1, which is an export centric model, including UK. We'll have a 941 band for North America only, and then a 961 band specifically for the UK. So we're hoping third quarter for all 4, but we'll see. Sometimes there's little snags getting all those things rolling at once, but it should be close.
So, and third quarter to clarify, so that could be July, August, September.
Yep,
right? That's what
exactly.
we're looking
Somewhere
in
in
those
there.
3 months. So a few months from now, give or take, we'll see the first ones rolling out. Cool. And I mean, I'm honestly really happy to see that these are functioning, because a lot of
Oh, yeah.
times, you see something that's been, that's been released and they're not doing anything. But this is, I mean, look, it's really passing audio. You can
Yeah,
really
they
see it's
pass
modulating with
audio,
me.
they tune, they scan, all that. I mean, some of the firmware functions are not in there yet, but the main ones are there and they work.
Cool. Joe, what else? You said there were a couple of questions.
Yeah, is there any way to use the 4-channel output with a legacy slot receiver combiners, like a octopack or a quad?
Yes, there is, because those are simply analog units. So the whatever comes out of the slot, and the pin outs on the DB25 are the same. So you've got 2 analog balanced pairs on 2 sets of pins, and then you have your AES outputs through those same pins. And each AES balanced line is 2 channels. So you come out of this thing digital AES out through the DB25, through the Octopack digital, and then whatever it's connected to, you would just connect it with XLRs.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
And if you wanted to also, you could come 2 channels analog out the back and then 2 channels analog out the front.
That's right.
You've got 4 channels analog, depending on what you're feeding.
That's right. You can't get 4 channels analog through the DB25. There's only 2 balanced pairs, analog-wise. But you're right. You could take channel 3 and 4 as an example out of the top connector analog and plug them into whatever input you're using.
Perfect.
And do it that way. So however you slice it, you can get the channels out either analog or digital.
Awesome. All right. Joey, any more?
As of April 24th, 2020, what is the price point?
Oh, I forget, isn't it?
It's $44.49 on this one.
Great. Okay.
And I forget exactly on
29
this, but
something?
29
Yeah.
and change.
Maybe put a link to our website in the chat, because we definitely have the pre-orders up and available. If people want to, put their name on the list, we should have all the pricing information there.
Great.
Anything else, Joey?
The last question, what option with the frequency band?
Okay. And the frequency band you already went through.
Yeah, we covered that, but we have A1B1,
Mhm.
B1C1,
Yep.
then 941, and then 961, which
Yep.
is UK only.
Yeah.
So there's 4 different options, covers a very wide range. That 961 for the UK covers 961 to 1015 megahertz.
Wow.
Pretty big chunk.
Okay.
And that's specifically for production PSME needs.
Yeah. And to translate roughly what A1B1 means, that's everything that's legal in the US below 608. So 470 all the way to 608, or block 470 all the way up to block 23.
That's right, and it even goes up to 614 if you are outside the US and want to use that band, all the way up to 614 if you have the locale, like EU locale. So
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Fantastic. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up. This is really exciting stuff. We'll look forward to the third quarter. Anything else you want to say to the, I don't know, millions or 5 people that are watching?
Well, thanks everybody. Thank you guys at Gotham for hitting us first thing at the show. It's an exciting product. We appreciate your interest in it and your customers, and we've gotten a lot of great feedback. I mean, it's really been an exciting week since introduction, and we got an exciting show ahead of us.
Okay, awesome.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Karl Winkler, Lectrosonics, DSR and DSR4. Stay tuned for more from NAB.